Present.
Councilmember Mosley. Here. And Councilmember Atkins.
Here.
We do have a quorum. I'm told that Councilmember Marshall may be here. She was running a little late, but hopefully she will come in. We do have a quorum. The first item of actual business is item 4 on your agenda, council members, approval of minutes of the meeting of June the 10th, 2024. You have that in your packets.
I move that the minutes for our regular city council meetings of June 10th be approved as emailed and hard copy.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. You don't get the name, just tell me, okay? Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes as printed. Any discussion, correction?
Question,
Yes.
the, admin for Mr. George, is that gonna be in the next minutes? I didn't see it in there, huh?
I
Did you?
didn't see it, but I just said that.
Yes, it's in there. It's in the section on the minutes, on the front page.
Oh, that's the,
Mhm.
okay. All right.
If that's sufficient, that's, yes, we did include that. Other question or discussion of the minutes? All right, all in favor of approval of the minutes, show of hands, please. I see 5 in favor, that is sufficient. City clerk, would you briefly go over the financial reports?
Okay. Administrative expenses, $205,063.61. Law enforcement was, $1,022,023.86. Fire expenses were $523,243.82. Sanitation was $500,696.07. Building codes was $12,055.69. District court was $53,373.57. Municipal building, $4,508.15. Recreation, $118,347.73. Cultural center was $1,844.60. Armory was $5,919.18. Shooting range, $24,659.27. Senior Citizen Center, $4,628.28. Other expenses were $10,122. Airport, $19,491.81. And economic development was $17,752.89.
True.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. And street, $355,072.35. Expenses.
Move that we approve the financial revenue and expenditures as presented by the city clerk.
Second.
Got a motion, I think, Councilmember Toll-Free, I think you had to jump on us just a little bit.
We always yield to a beautiful face.
Okay, we'll let Councilmember Mosley get a second, okay? Any question or discussion on the finances? I did want to point 2 things out to you, in case you just wondered. Now, of course, the numbers you were given were year-to-date, fiscal year 2024. You will notice that the fire department has already exceeded its budget, but there was some, the rescue money and some different funds that went through there. That will have to be amended. We're not in any kind of violation of the law or anything, but we will have to amend that eventually. It's not that they've overspent their budget. Some other funds were spent that, were not originally planned and budgeted, and I think that's the same category on the other category.
On law also. On the building.
Yeah, but they haven't anywhere near exceeded their budget yet. I wanted to make sure y'all noticed that expenditures were higher than the budgets, but that's cause of new money came in.
Gotcha.
Question or discussion on the finances?
No, we've been watching it.
I figured you had. Just wanted you to know I've been watching it too, so, thank you. I appreciate that. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You ready to vote? All in favor, show of hands. I see 5 in favor. And just quickly go over city, county, court, and so forth there for me.
The city sales dues to tax was $88,622.32. And the county portion was $62,200.31.
And you've got your district court information as well, and it's the quarter again, so you've got an overtime report at what we've spent by department on overtime. And I failed to mention this usually, but your cash balances up to date are in there also. So see the total amount of money you got and where it is. That's the one I pay very close attention to, so want to make sure y'all know what we got and what's going on. Any questions on any of the financial reports? I would say so far so good on the year. That's the way I'd put it right now. All right, item 6 is the mayor's report. The first thing we have, it's a new quarter. We have a new employee of the quarter is what we're calling this. Adam, would you and your family like to step forward?
Oh, sure.
We've got Adam Cameron, one of our full-time firemen. She can come on in. And I want you to come in. We're going to get a picture taken here. Y'all just come up here in front. And I want you to introduce your family. You don't mind? Introduce all you got there.
I don't mind. This is my wife, Kathy Cameron, and my son Carter, who's fixing to be, are you 8? And Charlie, who's 6.
Okay. Well, Adam, you're probably aware of this, but the city council believes they need to call out our excellent employees and people that do a good job and go over and beyond in their work. And you were selected for this last quarter, and you got a fairly good nominator and promoter over here behind me, I think, in the chief. But and we've got a little gift card here for you. Maybe help you with get a toy or something out of that. Okay? Get a chance. But we want to thank you for everything you do. You work hard for this department. You respond. I hear good things from the public, myself, about you and your response, and we just want to tell you we appreciate it. Council members, any of y'all that want to get up here and get the picture, we'll do that. Chief, you can get in here too. And we'll squeeze all in here. We got news media here, and I tell you what, well, I guess I'm okay. We got that. I just go around and just turn a little sideways. There we go. Tell us if you can see everybody. Y'all can get us all in the picture.
Yes, I can. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Rob, did you get something?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice of y'all to come.
Thank you very
We
much.
appreciate everything you do
Thank
for us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I think most everybody knows we're doing this every 3 months. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
We've got some great employees, and they work hard and they're dedicated, and many of them go over and beyond, and we appreciate that very much. Okay, council members, you got a memorandum in there to the city council's reference a contract of sale of land in the industrial park, and y'all had this for a while. Y'all know all about it, I think. I've asked the county judge to come. He's been very instrumental in helping with this whole thing, recruiting. This is one of our industrial prospects that we've been working on for quite some time. And this is Maxim Environmental is the name of the company, and we've reported on them before. This is the company that desires to purchase some land in our existing industrial park on the southwest side of town over here. And everything's been agreed to. We've been negotiating this for some time. And what we need tonight, of course, I'll answer any questions that you might have, but we need to act on this. The only thing that was kind of been added to it in the last round of negotiations, the company asked for a clause, and it's in there, that once it's signed, they actually have 90 days before we would have to close the deal. That's to allow them to bring in a company to do an environmental review of the property. We do not foresee any issues out there, but nevertheless, the people they're doing business with, lending money and so forth, want this done. The company will pay for it. It's not anything out of the city. And I would remind the council again, once this is done, assuming everything goes through, we would close it as soon as they get the environmental done, or within 90 days, that they would be purchasing the property. It all goes on the tax books, and what they build out there goes on the tax books. And we still don't know exactly how many new jobs. There will be a number of new jobs out there out of this. Questions?
Okay, say for instance, they go belly up or something like that.
That is addressed in the contract, and it does give the city with some, caveats as to, notifying them and seeing how they respond. Like if they say, well, we're gonna open it back up in 6 weeks or something like that, but if it just goes out of business, so to speak, they don't sell it to somebody else, and anybody they might sell it to would have to abide by all the same requirements. Then the city would have a right to retake the land. Yes. Trying to
I move
protect
that
ourselves.
the Warren City Council approve the contract with Maxon, for the purchase of land in the amount of $150,000.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? This is to approve the contract. It would authorize me to sign it on the city's behalf and hopefully get this going. Any question or debate, discussion, anything?
No, and I thought there was a page as it related, Alderman Tolfree's question, the clause as if they went belly up, but I guess I didn't write it down, but I read it.
No, it's in there.
I read it, but I'm not
That's
sure
the-
what page it is.
See if I can find it for you right quick.
I should have written down a page, but I didn't, just read it.
I know it is. We spent a lot of time talking about it.
Yeah, we have. I just wanted to be a part of the minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's on page 7.
7, okay. You're faster than I am, Professor. But, yeah. Page 7, 19.
Yeah, 719.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I should have put an asterisk
Yeah,
by there when
yeah.
I read it, but I did not.
We have tried to do everything we could to protect the city, but of course, the purpose here is try to get new jobs and business in the community. Any other questions? All in favor, a show of hands, please. I see 5 in favor, that is sufficient with 1 absent, and that approves it. Council members, thank you. Judge, I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but I do want to, again, publicly, you've been right there by my
Yeah.
side, working on this. Any?
I do
short
want
comments
to
you make?
give you an update. A while ago, I did speak to the environmental company that's coming. He's coming Wednesday to meet with the property to go ahead and get the ball rolling. And they're also are very interested in bringing a portable unit in soon as we get this on another piece of property before they get this ready, to be able to start process on doing some environmental studies and some testing on the product to kind of get a free product out there. So these people they're ready to spend money. They're moving forward, and I think within the next 3 to 5 months, I think that we'll have concrete poured. I really do. I appreciate the council doing this. This is a good step for the community, and I really believe that 1 step will make 2 steps, and then 1 will come. Then if we build it, they'll come. And I think that this here will be a good project for the community and jobs, and they're going to spend several $1 million investment too. Be good. I thank y'all.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate you coming, and again, he's been right there working with us on this and several other projects. All right, thank you, council members. item 3 is, approved contract for Myrtle Street sidewalk. This is the, rebuilding of the sidewalk, starting, about Molly's Restaurant, just to tell where everybody understands, going south, down that way, completely rebuilding the sidewalk. It is a grant, that we're getting from the highway department. We bid it out, the low bidder, you got all this in your packet, Premier Facilities Group out of Russellville, Arkansas. The total amount of the contract, $154,840. At this point, we simply need y'all to approve this so we can enter a contract and get that built.
I move that we go with the low bid of $154,840 with Primo Facilities Group out of Russellville, and that we authorize the administration to move forward with the project.
It's seconded. Just for public information, we had 3 bids, range from $172,000 was the high bid, the next bid was $167,000, the low bid $154,000.
I thought that was $173,000, that's $172.
Is that some kind of insult of my handwriting?
Lazy 3
Cause that's written in my handwriting.
Short
If it is, it would be well taken, but I understand,
No,
okay?
no, I just thought it was 173 and 167.
Got the motion second to approve the low bid. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, show of hands, and I see 5 in favor. Thank y'all, that's some long time progress in work. All right, council members, now you don't have anything here in your packets, but you have been briefed on a matter that came out of our 2022 audit. Now, that audit has not even been completed yet, but did find a little, I guess you'd call it an error in how we kept up with some leave for one of our employees already retired and how much they were able to draw. And the bottom line is, based on what we found out, that employee, technically, we overpaid him about $71 and some of.
$17.99.
Okay.
$17.99.
So, council, yeah, there's been some discussion in, different meetings, and I think there's been a desire to waive this no more than it is. It'll keep us in compliance with the auditors. We don't want to go back and make them, even though it's not much money, you have to pay something back. It was not their fault anyway, it was clerical on our part. I need a motion if you wish to do that.
I move that the administrative error in the amount of $17.99 be waived for retired employees of the York leave payout.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, got a second? Yes. Now, is everybody clear on what we're doing? I mean, we've almost re-audited this thing, and we've cleared this with the auditor, because they still haven't submitted a complete audit. We gotta, we'll have to respond to them what we've done here, and I don't think this will be any big problem, but we just want to make it right and do it legal. Any question or discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. I see 5 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you very much. Okay, Alderman, we have a guest with us tonight. Now, let me ask first, do any of y'all have anybody else that you need to recognize to speak? This is our public comment section.
Well, I had a couple from over there on the southern side that was coming about the junkyard, but I told them, we already had that in hand.
That's in
Took all the
order.
proper things, so I guess they trusted me, they didn't show.
Okay.
Well, I also heard from them, in fact, I shared with them after the agenda meeting what was shared with us.
Okay. Very good, very good. All right, we're happy to have our district prosecuting attorney, Mr. Frank Spain, with us. Frank, you mind, just step on up here? And, I promised him I wouldn't call him up here to make him testify and be too grueling on him or anything.
Whole truth, nothing but the truth.
That's right. And just for everybody's, refresher as to kind of what we're talking about here, issues we've been talking about off and on for a while. And that is the problems that we're dealing with in a number of cases throughout town with, well, I guess you would call homeless people. And I wanna tell you that, we even had a private meeting with one of our circuit judges just to get their thoughts on, you know, how the city should deal with some of these issues. And it was made real clear to me that being homeless is not a violation of the law. And we understand that. We're not trying to, I don't think anybody here is trying to, come down hard on people that are, you know, down on their luck or have, mental issues or substance abuse issues. But we're just running into a lot of problems. The public is, we're hearing a lot from people, about these individuals. The police department has told me that based upon just their observations, and we're not out there trying to play like a secret police, but obviously we get calls, we've run into these people quite a bit, and we want, you know, we're trying to keep up with about how many they are. They move around. Of course, we've asked them to leave private property. They get on public property, city parks, things like that. And they're telling us it's a difficult thing to deal with. Mr. Prosecutor, we just wanted you to come and give us your thoughts on how, from a law enforcement standpoint, that we need to deal with these issues, and let the council ask you any questions.
Okay.
You're our main chief law enforcement officer in this district, and figured you could help us, and I know there's been a Supreme Court ruling also on this issue.
What I gave was a copy of the Supreme Court case that just came out within the last couple of weeks. And it's City of Grants Pass versus Johnson. So the United States Supreme Court addressed a similar issue involving, and we're not talking about homeless people in this particular instance. What we're talking about is anybody, homeless or not, camping on public property. And it may affect the homeless, but the statute in that, or statute would be an ordinance written in that particular instance, was written so that it covered anybody doing that, regardless of whether or not they're homeless. And as the mayor said, homelessness is a status, and a status like that is not something that's illegal. It is a person violating either a Arkansas statute or potentially a Warren City ordinance. And in this particular case, there was a city ordinance about either A, sleeping on public property. The second part was camping on public property. And then what they talked about was specifically camping or overnight parking in city parks. And so what they did is they made it a violation of city ordinance, a criminal ordinance, to either sleep on a public sidewalk or street, to camp on public property, or to stay overnight in your car or in a tent in a public park. And what I would say, if that is something that y'all are interested in doing, I would suggest that you contact the Municipal League, which I assume you're already members of, and get them to help you draft it, because what this particular case ultimately came down to was an argument about where this started out west. And in particular, it went through some federal attacks where people were saying that it was in violation of the 8th Amendment, that it was cruel or unusual punishment to prosecute somebody for being homeless. Of course, again, the Supreme Court says that's not what this statute does. It does not prosecute the homeless. It prosecutes people for camping or are sleeping in the street or the sidewalk, and it could be anybody, it could be the mayor, it could be somebody who's homeless, any of those people doing it would be violating that law. It's not based upon somebody specifically being, homeless. And so any ordinance that you draft has to keep that in mind, because trying to do something based upon status such as being homeless would be a violation of the Constitution under the Eighth Amendment. There's some similar case law about, and they talk about it in this case that I gave you, about trying to criminalize being an addict versus possessing or using controlled substances. Possessing using controlled substance is illegal and is fully prosecutable. Being an addict is not. That's more of a status type of, one of the justices says that was a wrong ruling, but that's not what the majority says. And so, now there are other ways to combat people who are in these situations. And I would say combat, because maybe they need help. The mayor said that maybe when I talked to him before, that some of these people maybe actually have either drug addiction problems or they have mental illnesses. Now, fortunately, right now, maybe this is a good example. We have been hitting 100-degree weather where people are being exposed, and if you're sleeping outside because you have a drug addiction problem or you have a mental illness, there are steps, in particular, my office can take. There are something called drug and alcohol commitments and mental commitments. For us to be able to pursue those type of commitments, the people have to be homicidal. I'm going to use the terms that are in the statutes: homicidal, suicidal, or gravely disabled. And that means they have to either suffer from a mental illness or their drug addiction puts them in a place that they are either dangerous to themselves or others. And in particular, like a good example, somebody who's gravely disabled, they may be so high they walk out in front of traffic. They might be so mentally ill that they don't perceive the danger of walking out in traffic. And those are people that, if the police will get into custody on a temporary, like, hey, I'm trying to make sure you're okay. Delta Counseling is an agency here that has a contract with the state of Arkansas, and they are supposed to have an on-call screener to come and screen these individuals and to facilitate us getting them put into places for treatment. And then they will work with the deputies that I have assigned to these type of tasks. And if for some reason you can't get hold of my deputy who's assigned over here, they can always call my office. But these aren't long-term types of treatments. They are very short-term. They start off with mental health ones are about 72 hours. The drug and alcohol ones can be up to a week in the beginning. Those times can be extended.
Mr. Prosecutor, I don't wanna cut you off, cause I appreciate the information you're providing, but you're about to get to the meat of the issue here. How, first, and the circuit judge that we had a police and myself visited with, basically said exactly what you said. We can bring them before your office and get them, where a judge will order them or send them somewhere to get, checked out for mental health. How do we know that? I mean, these people don't walk up to us and say, I'm thinking about killing somebody, or I'm thinking about killing myself.
Well,
Most of them just hang around out there. They go through garbage containers. They're not all acting out a crime, so to speak.
the way you're going to do that is through either community telling you, hey, the community saying, hey, something's going on, or active police involvement when they see these people, or even city employees that see these people that would say, hey, I saw somebody doing this and I stopped talking and they didn't sound right.
Well, can I give you an example?
Sure.
And council, I want y'all to ask questions, but I've been out there and I've talked to some of these people. it takes about 30 seconds to figure out if there's something wrong or not. Because of their, you know, their speech, and I'll give you a classic example. We got some that gotta hang around our public city park. Now, I think nobody's, to my knowledge, tried to hurt anybody. They lock themselves in the bathroom down there and use it for a personal, you know, place to clean up occasionally and stuff like that. They scare people. Obviously, a lot of people won't bring their kids down there because it scares them if they see one or two or three of these people down there. There was a young lady that I knew had been out on the streets. I was down there one day walking, and I decided I was just gonna approach her and see what I could. I told her who I was, straight up. She was sitting on the steps of our gazebo with a big Bible looking at it. And I just asked her, I said, do you not have a home, any place to stay? And she basically told me, no, she didn't. She, well, actually is a native of Bradley County. I found that out, not Warren, but another location in the county. Apparently family had cut ties with her. She looked pretty rough, to say the least, but I know you can't just profile people, but nevertheless. So I was just trying to ask her a few questions, and in between reading, looking at the Bible, and telling me God was gonna take care of her, said it over and over again, and then she cut loose cussing me like a yard dog. And then she'd talk about the Bible and God a few minutes, and then she'd, vulgar. My point is, it don't take much to figure out that there's something problem with these, so, but then I'm getting told my policemen are very gun shy of this, because they're hauling somebody in and then being said, you illegally brought these people in.
Well, we're talking about a scenario where maybe that they're not under arrest, they're being detained.
I understand.
And and we're talking about a different type of scenario. They need to have articulable reasons why they did that, why they did the things, like what occurred that led you to decide you needed to take this person into custody to get her screened. Now, I'm gonna say the flip side of that, and one of the things that I have dealt with personally is that Delta Counseling doesn't always want to send somebody over here to screen somebody. I had the last time I had somebody over in this county that needed to be screened, I basically had to threaten to get them to get over here.
That's unsatisfactory to me personally.
Right, and I was told that they're supposed to have somebody, by the person who's supposed to be doing the screening, they're supposed to have somebody there within an hour. Okay, and it's my understanding, because I lived in Dardanelle, we dealt with a different agency over there that had this same sort of contract. They had it like a 24-hour number that you could call that they would get a screener, so if it's in the middle of the night or whatever, that you're not holding somebody in lockup all night. So I finally had to convince an officer to stay one more hour and get them to come over here. Now, I get the feeling, I can't prove this to you, that they don't think that they have to do this on a 24-hour basis. But that's my understanding.
But what do we need to do about that? When
Well,
they have a contract with the state of Arkansas, they should be doing it.
Well, we would need to know or be able to build a case to show the state of Arkansas that they're not doing what they say they're doing.
Well, I really don't have a personal experience of them not reacting to something or anything like
It
that.
may just been that one time.
The
I don't know.
issue we've got is how far can our police department go in bringing these folks before a judge
So
to get an assessment done?
there's a couple of things that can happen. They can take somebody into custody, and because they think that there's a mental health issue there, and they may take them to the hospital. My guess is the hospital's gonna immediately let them go because they don't wanna deal with them. Although there are certain protections under the statutes, I appreciate, for the hospitals who are dealing with people that they think are mentally ill. Or they can take them somewhere where they can hold them until the screener can come, or they can make contact with the screener or contact our office and say, hey, we want to get in order to get this person picked up.
Can you tell us who in your office we should contact when we run into a situation like this?
the person who's assigned to do this is the prosecutor does the district court, and I won't have to say his name, I'm stuck on it, Barton.
Not Whit, but, Ben.
Ben, right. Ben is the deputy assigned to do this, but sometimes, if he's not available, then Ms. Pamplin, or you can call directly to my office.
But we have the right to give him or somebody in your office a call and say, here's what we think we got, and we need to do something.
Right. But again, these definitions we're talking about are pretty particular, okay? They have to be, you don't have to say, I'm gonna kill somebody, or I'm thinking about killing myself, maybe that's sufficient. You get what I'm saying? So we need to, the officers need to be able to say, this is what is going on. Of course, that requires your officers to get out and make contact with people. That's part of what I would call community policing is. Some people think when you get out and talk to them, well, you're harassing them. No, I'm just talking to you, okay? And a lot of that, I can understand why some officers might be gun shy about wanting to be in these situations.
Let me tell you the other thing, and you mentioned this already. In a couple of cases, we've had people that for different reasons, we have been able to get a judge to, send them for treatment. They write back in just a few days and not a few hours, and they're right back where they were again. They're not solving the problem.
Well, and that's one of the problems I would say is wrong with the mental commitment and drug and alcohol commitment is primarily a duty of the prosecuting attorney's office because it has been that way historically because you're talking about taking away somebody's liberty, okay? The system is not designed to take these people and move them over to where maybe they would get some help by the Department of Human Services. Sometimes we have people who are elderly, who have dementia, who need to be committed, or they might be alcoholics, or like I had a case when I was in Dardanelle where a man had fallen and broken his arm, but he was an alcoholic, and he had to have surgery to repair his arm, and his family just said, hey, you got to help us. So we had to file a commitment on him to get him sober up enough just so he could get to the hospital to have this surgery, or they were going to have to cut his arm off. Okay, that's the kind of gravely disabled we're talking about. So just being an addict, just maybe not being sensical isn't going to be enough. But you have to take into certain factors, like I was talking about, the temperature outside. If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and somebody's wearing a heavy jacket and they're being nonsensical, well, maybe that's an extra layer there that applies. Or if it's really cold and they're running around shorts and a t-shirt, they're exposing themselves to the elements in a way that might be dangerous.
Could I ask the city council to give them a chance? I don't wanna keep you all night, and we've got some other business. I appreciate you coming. Council members, let me give y'all an opportunity to ask him anything you wanna ask him.
I'll give you mine.
Any of you want to ask a question or maybe give an example of what you've run into or what?
I've got a question. Well, I don't know if he can answer it, but we talked about the screening. So what does that really entail and what happens afterwards?
Well, okay, here's what can happen, okay? Let's say we have somebody that we believe is mentally ill. Maybe it's easier to deal with mentally ill as opposed to a person who needs to be committed because of drug or alcohol. So mental illness, those evaluations are done by Delta Counseling, and they are an evaluation where they determine whether or not the person meets this criteria. They have a trained person who does these evaluations. I can't tell you exactly what all it is, but it's a series of questions, and they attempt, like, we had a guy, when I did these on regular, he would literally talk about people wearing tinfoil hats he would wear a tinfoil hat. Now, wearing a tinfoil hat doesn't make you necessarily gravely disabled or homicidal or suicidal. So a lot of times we're talking about people who actually have a mental illness who are talking about harming themselves, or maybe talking about harming a loved one because they're not right thinking, okay? Now, those threatening to kill somebody also is a crime, and that's one of the other reasons why it overlaps with the prosecutor's office. So one of two things can happen in these scenarios is a loved one, a family member, or a caregiver will call up Ben and say, hey, I need to get a commitment, because this is a person that, unfortunately, we have a lot of repeat customers with these scenarios. So they may already be going to Delta Counseling, and Delta Counseling may, at their regular meeting, go, hey, you're not taking your medications, or you're off, or whatever. And so they will prepare, I wish that we would do it this way, but oftentimes there's a form they fill out, which is called a petition for involuntary commitment. And then if the person who's Delta Counseling doing it, it's a lot easier because we can then ask the court to enter an order for immediate confinement. They can be sent to a hospital for a period of time before a hearing has to be held. Okay? Let's say if it was just you called up and said, I want to fill out this petition, I would have you come in and meet with me, and I would go over and have you tell me what all the facts are that made you believe that this person was homicidal, suicidal, or anything. And sometimes it might just be as easy as, hey, he's talking about killing himself, and he's hearing voices and things like that. So we would file a petition. We would oftentimes ask for an order for immediate confinement so that the sheriff's office or the police department could go pick him up, take him to somewhere where Delta Counseling can come and screen them. Okay? And then if they think that they have enough, then they can have them held until we have hearing. That part is not required. The immediate confinement portion is not necessary by law. We can file a petition. They can be ordered to appear like just much like a person who was arrested. Could be, okay, you're ordered to appear on this day and we're gonna have a hearing. They have the right to counsel. They have the right to remain silent. And unlike many civil issues, those things don't apply. But in this type of hearing, again, because you're taking away somebody's freedom, they're appointed an attorney typically before the hearing, and the judge would have take testimony about why they need to be committed. So that would be the procedure that would happen. Now, sometimes we have disagreements with what qualifies as something that's a committable issue. We may decide that that's not enough or it is.
I think Councilmember Henderson had a
Yeah, I did,
question.
and we're very much familiar with Adult Protective Service and, Children and Family Service, et cetera. But you mentioned the police, community policing. Is there training, because I would not think that, and I'm not just speaking for the Warren Police Department, but just, our catchment area here. I don't think that they would have had that particular type training to even address the issue and approach and feel that they have not overstepped their bounds.
Well, if you're talking about, is there training out there? I believe that there is. I couldn't tell you what it is, but the Criminal Justice Institute would have training for that for officers.
But are other cities that's within your catchment area, are they doing the community policing?
Well,
and
community
actually-
policing is something completely different. Community policing is.
I know it's establishing a relationship,
Right.
with that
And I
individual.
I think
And
some
kind
of
of
them.
doing an assessment.
Some of them, I don't think your officer's gonna be qualified necessarily to say, hey, they can't say, because they are trained to determine whether or not they think somebody is under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So that's part of it, okay? Is this person acting this way because they're high? Are they acting this way because they are intoxicated? Are they acting this way because of something else? Maybe somebody's diabetic and they're having a medical issue. So I believe they are trained briefly, okay, small quantities about these type of things. And so, but the idea of community policing is a much different topic than dealing with trying to assess somebody as whether or not they're dangerous to themselves or someone else. In my mind, now, community policing is just a style of policing, and that can be implemented a whole different ways. But you're right, the idea of community policing is developing a rapport with the citizens of the community, so that you have trust between the two parties. And I think that's important. I have a degree in criminal justice. I was going to be in law enforcement one way or another. I ended up here because, unfortunately, couldn't get my mother.
Well, I would love, excuse me, go ahead.
Similar to what Little Rock has as far as what Officer Tommy Dorman, the community policing.
They all have different, yeah, a lot of agencies may have different, right, people or persons who do that. It also can come down to how you have like some places have cities broken up into grids, and these officers are routinely assigned to this area, so they're in that area, people see them, and they, just stop and saying hi to people is community policing.
And we actually do more of that than you think we do. But bottom line is, we're fortunate to keep enough policemen on the payroll to patrol the town. I mean, we don't, you gotta have a whole, numbers of people. You gotta have that's all they work at, is that kind of thing. And we just, a town like Warren's really not.
You would have to hire someone to specifically address this.
As far as the community.
It's-
Uh-huh.
I don't think you have to hire anybody specifically for dealing
Look
with
at
this.
our overtime report.
Well, what I'm suggesting is, if you have an officer who's on duty and he sees somebody out sleeping in the park or appears to be sleeping, there's nothing wrong with them going over and saying hi and talking to them and find out what's going on, much like the mayor was talking about. That's completely, now, does that take away from time that other officer could be doing something else? Yes, but you have to decide as the city governor, how you want the officers spend their time. Is there a benefit to the city that the officers get out their car and talk to people? Yeah, me personally, yes. Okay, now, can the city, you're gonna have to have some sort of event where you're gonna learn, okay, this was worthwhile or it wasn't worthwhile. And if it means that you're gonna have somebody, to me, if somebody's laying around in the park, I want my officers finding out what's going on. I want my families to go to the park and use the equipment. Families are not gonna go there if adults are hanging out there, all the time. So, it's something I think you just have to do, and you have to get it done. It's just how you go about doing it is the issue.
Let me see it, we're gonna have to move on here, or we could be here all night discussing that. And to be honest with you, and I appreciate everything he's saying and y'all's questions, we're talking about every symptom, we're still not figuring out what needs to be done to deal with it.
The thing you need to do is, if you want to criminalize camping in the park, or sleeping on the street, or those type of things, okay? You have to determine whether or not you have a city ordinance that already exists that covers those issues. If not, then you need to develop a city ordinance. I can't legally do that for you, okay? That would be something you would need to, I would get with.
Frank, I don't think any of us are particularly wanting to criminalize people that are having, mental health issues or even substance abuse issues. We're trying to figure out how to deal with it, how to get them help, and not where they're on on a revolving door basis where they send them to Little Rock for 2 weeks to the state hospital, and the next week they're back down here still camping out where they were.
Well,
And by the way, they're not, and by the way, you know this, I'm not talking about nice tents like where people go camping. I'm talking about people making homemade places and just literally getting in a corner somewhere under our train down at the park or, you know, places like that.
so, okay, so what people talk to me about, sometimes talking about, well, you're just sending people to prison because they got a drug problem, okay? And sometimes we do that. We're not doing it because they have a drug problem, we're doing it because it's illegal. And the problem is, my experience is, I've done this for 26 years now, going on 27. You can't get people's attention when they're so addicted to drugs that that's the only thing that they care about. You have to change their lives. Now, if you can get their families to start a process to get guardianship over them, and they want to take care of them, and guardianship is a legal method for them being in charge of them, that's one thing. You generally can't get a family to do that.
That's hard.
Okay, so as the prosecutor's office, the only method I have for getting somebody to do something is the carrot, the stick, are the same thing. If you don't stop doing this, we're gonna send you here, okay? And we send a lot of people to, I'll be the first person, I can't stand a drug dealer, I hate them. I wanna send every one of them to prison, okay? Every one, because I think they poison people. And that's how I feel about it. People who use drugs, I don't have the ability to make them go to rehab without charging them with a crime. And the same people who are doing it over and over and over again, we have to do something with it. The option we have is, the law says basically if you've been convicted of 2 or more felonies, you're not eligible to get probation or suspended sentencing. Now, bigger places, they tend to ignore that law, okay, we follow it. But what we have in our ability to do stuff with is we send people to what's called a community corrections center, which is a minimum security prison, which has a drug and alcohol and a therapeutic environment built into it. And that's where we try to send people. But there are only certain types of people that can go there. You can't go there if you're a violent offender or a sex offender. You can't typically go there. And so that's where we get sort of maybe stuck in. You might have somebody who's a drug user who gets violent and has hurt somebody or threatened somebody, and then so now they can't go to that place. And now we're stuck with sending them to ABC. But of course, we're not doing these things because we're trying to pick on people. We're trying to make the world safer. Okay, and that's where we end up at. So, if you wanted to be non-criminal with that, you need to get community organizations together that will go out, try to help these people, and try to get them into a scenario. The problem is some people don't want them. They like it.
We have experienced that in talking to some of them. There are some of these people out there draw Social Security checks. And they're not broke, not all of them. Every situation's different. Every situation's different. But I do know of one situation with a lady, I know she draws a check.
My sister Chris.
And we tried to get her public housing. Well, the problem is, I think she's got a son that maybe does have some serious, background, and he's illegal. He can't stay in public housing, and she won't go without him. And besides that, she really don't want to anyway. They find a vacant house, move in it, till somebody finds her in there, especially in the wintertime.
Right.
I mean,
And of course, that is a crime.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know it.
It's criminal trespass, it can be residential burglary if they're going in there for certain, if they're just going to get out of there, out of the weather, that's probably just criminal trespass. If they're going in there to commit some other type of crime in there, that would be burglary.
And you understand this as well as anybody does, and council members, I know y'all do too. Even in a lot of those cases, if we catch them, and issue them a citation, you just might as well go out and spit into the wind. You solve nothing except put more stuff on the books of the court, because you can't, you put them in jail, you don't have to, and you only put them for limited periods of time, even if they're convicted, and then they're right back out, and they're certainly not gonna pay you for fines. It don't solve the problem, and y'all understand that, everybody does. I'm trying to find solutions, long term.
And I really, I personally think the long-term solution is everything working together.
Yes, sir.
Where you may have an ordinance that says this, because maybe you can
Yeah.
get somebody off the street for a couple of days and maybe get them sobered up to where they go somewhere else or whatever, but I suspect y'all don't even have a homeless shelter here in town.
Not that I'm aware of. We did years ago.
Yeah, we had the
They burned it
Oasis,
down.
Oasis homeless shelter that was here.
So we do have substance abuse, treatment.
Right.
Right here,
And so when you try to move you're talking about moving somebody out of the community to give them a place to live.
yeah.
And really if you look at that case, a lot of what Justice Gorsuch, who wrote the opinion, what it talks about is, there's a whole bunch of policy issues and how to deal with this. The issue they are addressing was, is it against the Eighth Amendment to criminalize sleeping or camping in the park? And that's something y'all have to decide whether or not you want to do, if you need to get an attorney to help you to draft an ordinance if that's what you want to do. Potentially, there's a move to be made where you get some citizens groups to try to help these people.
Let me see if anybody else, council member, any of y'all got any questions or comments? I know we could literally stay here all night discuss, and I very much appreciate the prosecuting attorney. He tries to help us now. I hope I didn't come across like I was pouncing on you, Mr. Prosecutor. Me and you talk about a lot of this stuff.
That would have been new.
He works with us wonderfully. He really does. I'm just trying to figure out.
It's a universal issue.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And,
not
and
just-
there's no easy fix for anything. I feel like we, as a society, sometimes don't want to help people. We no longer want to be able to go talk to somebody because we're afraid, well, somebody might perceive something we said wrong, and now I'll be determined to be accused of being a racist or homophobic or you're just mean. People tell me I'm mean all day long because I just say what I'm very plain. with
Sort of
what
your
I
job.
Well, but I think as a society, we need to get over being worried about somebody saying something bad about us. And of course, we have these phones where you can just tweet out whatever you want to, and you just can't really do anything about it, so.
Any other questions for him?
No, but we do appreciate your.
We thank you and very much, Frank, and you want to make sure I got contact with Ben.
Sure.
And here's the interesting, one final thing about our situation. I think I started on this when I started my comments, and I wandered off as I sometimes do. We're probably talking about, all seriousness, maybe 12 to 20 people right now in the city limits of Warren that's actually in this situation, out there just on the streets, okay? We're not talking about hundreds now. I got people calling me saying, you got hundreds of people out here, that's not true. But they're seeing the ones that are, and they're just, moving all around town, setting up these little campsites, so to speak, sometimes 3 or 4 of them, sometimes just one.
Sometimes our neighbor in our city will bring some over to the county line.
Right.
We have had that issue, which I don't think I've talked to you about.
One thing that the criminal justice in the state of Arkansas the system is currently experiencing is there's a procedure when someone is, let's say you're charged with a burglary, whether it be some sort of violent offense, there's a defense of, you've all heard talking about somebody being mentally ill or having mental defect. Okay, there's a procedure that goes through that. There's two parts to that. One is, and I suffer from mental illness, and I couldn't perceive the criminality of my conduct at that particular moment. And there are people who fall in that category. You know, they just straight hallucinate the facts. They don't think. They're very rare. The other thing is, and a more difficult problem for the criminal justice system is you have somebody who maybe after they've been arrested, or maybe even before they was arrested, have become unfit to proceed, meaning that they're not mentally capable of assisting in their defense. And statewide, we have an issue with this, where the state hospital, and the Department of Human Services, who, when the court finds somebody not fit to proceed, he orders them to be a ward of the DHS and state hospital. And the other flag just tell us that we don't have space to take anyone. And so we have people, because of maybe their dangerousness, that are sitting in jail who need to be restored, and we can't get them into the hospital, and something's gonna have to change. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I was talking about the sheriff of one of the other counties on the way over here about that exact issue. So, I mean, I think they have like 150 beds at the state hospital that are set up to restore people, or to treat people who suffer from mental illness. You know, we have,
Facilities.
I think the state is gonna have to get much more
They got all
involved
that
in
excess
this.
money, I don't think just put it on.
All right, anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't worry, I've got some other issues too, I'll talk to you.
I heard you talking about one of them already today.
Thank you for coming. Again, council members, we appreciate, our prosecutor coming. He does work with us great. And we appreciate it very much. And I just want to make sure we're all understanding the best we can, what we can do, what we can't do, and apparently some issues it's just hard to deal with.
Certainly call. I mean, if any one of you, any of y'all have a question, certainly call the office. I may not always be available to take your call right then, but I will get back to you. I spend a lot of time trying cases, or in court, so me or one of my deputies will get back to you as soon as we can, okay?
Thank you for
You
working.
what them people say about you. You pretty nice.
Thank you much. I know that took a while, council, I'm sorry, but I thought that was important, and the public needs to hear
And it
this
was
too.
very informative, because this is some good information here. We're on the line there.
Do we have anybody else?
Mayor, there may be a grant out there that we can, get to hire like an auxiliary officer or someone to do some of the things that he shared with us.
We need to just hire some more policemen too, but yes, I mean, I'm open to,
Specifically,
anything
for this, there may
like
be
that.
just a grant.
but I will say this, and I would agree, you gotta look at all kinds of options, how to deal with it. But until something can be done to where we can get these people analyzed, legally, properly for their condition, and then they can go somewhere, and they're not gonna do this, most of them voluntarily, okay? It's just not going to. But when the court orders it and they go somewhere and get really the kind of the treatment, and sometimes that works, sometimes it don't, but it's gotta be more than 24 or 48 hours, and it's just turning right back. And, somewhere or another, that's gotta be dealt with, because otherwise, we can't arrest everybody and get out of this issue, even if we go out there and start trying to do it. It's just not gonna solve
And
it.
that would not be the answer.
No. Okay. All right, do we have anybody here? I don't look like we got too many folks left in the audience, but is there anybody else that signed up? Where'd Charlotte go? Nobody signed up? Okay, so we're good on public comments. I'm gonna go pretty rapidly here if I can, but y'all stop me now if you need to. Item 7 is our administrative standing committee reports. The police chief's report is there. He's not out there, is he? Fire chief. The police chief came to see me today, and there is a major interdiction issue going on in the community today in conjunction with, I think, the Attorney General's office. And I really can't tell you what it is, but that's why the chief is tied up. He's in town, he's working. He's just not able to be here tonight, so. Well, it is, and I can, but anyway, it is law enforcement oriented, okay? It's law enforcement oriented. But his report is there. If anybody's got any questions, I'll either try to answer it, or I will get him to get in touch with you and get you an answer. I know we are looking for police officers. We've got several vacancies. We're keeping everything working, but of course there's a good bit of overtime, and that's one of the reasons is we've had some people that have, well, I think one retired and some others want to go part-time, and it's just a number of different issues, but not really a new problem. Police committee, council member Burks Frazier, we still have the dispatch issue. I have tried to get in touch with the attorneys at the municipal league that we've talked to previously. I'm still waiting.
Okay.
I think holidays and summer and a number of things have hit. But just for y'all's information, again, that the purpose, that they're looking in to the 911 monies that come back to Bradley County and where it all ought to be going. That's what we're researching right now, along with some other things. It's not all coming to the city of Warren, we don't think, but we're trying to make sure we have the right information. You have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Fire chief?
Mayor, before we-
Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I
Come on
thought it
in.
was a very interesting letter that was, sent to the chief from David, M. Harvey.
Yeah, I saw it.
That was very nice.
I just want to make mention
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it seemed to be talking about several different issues, actually, so.
Yes.
You might want to keep that one for a minute.
Yeah, I got you. All right, thank you for bringing that up. Fire chief, they got your written report, what do you need to tell them there, anything, or answer any questions?
Good evening, we had a very uneventful month, we had 5 calls, we had one call out to AHF, sawdust bin was on fire, but it didn't get too bad, thank goodness. Our total volunteer payroll was $1,140, we held our monthly meeting and training on June 3rd with 22 members present.
Chief, very briefly, you got a report in there about where we're trying to collect money on fires, and I think I mentioned this to the council when we set the agenda, but that we are notifying both the property owners and their insurance companies to make sure where we can legally get payment, we're doing it. And we're staying on that to get an answer, or the money.
And we actually did have some come in, as you can see, we actually had one from about 9 months ago that showed up last week, so sometimes it's just slow getting.
Questions for the fire chief? Fire committee, Mr. Tollfree, I don't know that we had this when we had to set the agenda, but we did want to go ahead and make y'all aware of it. You'll see there's been another volunteer fireman hired. If you want to make any comments.
No, none of this time.
Okay. All right, we always notify y'all that when positions filled. All right, you got anything else that you know of right now?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, chief. Sanitation, Mr. Johnson. Talk about solid waste first.
Everything seems to be pretty good on the solid waste, we're, any questions that y'all may have, I'd like to be able to answer. All the equipment's running good, and,
might tell the council, we thought we'd found you a truck
Yeah.
at
they
a
didn't work
real
out.
reasonable price, and when he went to pick it up, it was not as advertised, and he refused it, rightfully so, so we didn't, so we're still looking.
That's right.
Any questions on solid waste?
And oh, by the way, the bone loader is supposed to be here tomorrow. That was the phone call I got.
Would y'all like to have a christening and, everybody get their picture made? We'll holler at you. If anybody's available, you may not be, but we can,
Go ahead and holler.
we'll holler.
Yes, but mine was spent.
We need to holler loud, don't we? So hopefully that'll be, they're here and in order and ready to go to work, so.
But it was a good deal for the citizens of.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Councilmember Atkins, you have anything right now?
No.
Do, just let us know. All right, let's talk, building, the
I've got,
condemnation list, all that. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm about to skip, go ahead for that.
I've got some items there, some old garbage bin, the red containers. I've got some that are beyond repair. I believe there's 4 of them. And then I've got a octagon box, which is a transfer box that makes trips from here to El Dorado every day that has went, it's not worth fixing. And I would like to get these as just selling as scrap. Salvage, get y'all's permission.
Any motion?
Yes, ma'am, if you,
I move that we, allow Mr. Johnson to sell the 1983 garbage bins and the 2012 octagon receiver box.
Second.
Whatever you can get.
Yeah, salvage, yeah.
motion second's been made. Question or discussion? All in favor, show of hands. See 5 in favor, and I think they've got your, building permits and all that stuff too. that's-
Right, yeah, building permits,
What
everything.
you've done. All right, let's talk about our,
Correction, 6 and 5.
oh, I'm sorry. I saw you come in. I know you're there.
I'm here.
Okay. I'm sorry, my fault. Wasn't trying to ignore you, I knew you was sitting there. I just got used to saying 5 in favor for a few minutes there, and I kept doing it. 6 in favor. All right. All right, Rob, let's, property cleanups, and let's, where are we?
Yeah, we picked up 2 abandoned cars this past month, July. We did over, like I said, 35 hours in deliver pickup. It's just walking up down the street picking up. And we also did 63 junk pickups at residences. You'll see where we sent out 75 certified letters in regard to our ordinance violations. 22 were sent back, no signatures. But out of the 53 that did get signatures, only 1 is still in violation, which I think is really, really good. And that would be located at number 7 Southern Court, is the only one that I have right now that we can act on if y'all want to.
Is that the one where he's in the nursing home?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, and they contacted me, about getting it cleaned up, and,
Now tell them who they is. I mean, it's
The daughter.
the daughter, I think.
and anyway, we put they put a container out front, and, there hadn't been anything done.
Oh, okay.
There's some vehicles in the rear, the garage and everything, it's just, and, when they received the letter, they called me and I gave them another 30 days, if anything started, and they did drop the container off, but they have not done anything.
When did they call you?
Ma'am,
When did they call you?
right after they got the letter, that they received the letter on it, which
So
was
that-
over a month ago.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And the extension time that I gave them to get started is over also, so, and they hadn't called me back at all either, so. They do have a white dumpster out front.
Well, let's take these in order just to get it up, so y'all have an update. Item 3A is the Phillips Street. We are still in the process. It has been hard to catch up with the owner of that property, physically. We were gonna just catch up with him and talk to him once more and tell him about 3 things that we think need to be done, and we would consider it in compliance. It's not gonna be great, but in compliance, and to my knowledge, we hadn't been able to catch up with him yet, have we?
About 20 minutes ago, I got a phone call, I'll be honest with you, from Officer Miller. He has made contact with Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
and, he told him what all he needed to do, and we're supposed to visit again tomorrow.
Okay, so I would suggest we just, hang on to that, we're trying to work something out with him here in a fair manner. The 504 Rock Street, me and Rob actually talked to the gentleman that lives there in the house. There's no utilities on, there's a whole bunch of issues here. But I know him and, had a nice visit with him at the house. Kind of showed him what really needs to be done. And as close as he lived to the house, we told him if he would stack up, most of this can be moved by hand, just if he would put it out next to the street, either street, he's on a corner lot, we'd actually come by and pick it up, solid waste department would. He's not in any condition to, do it himself or hire it done or anything like that. But we really have seen no action, and we're trying to catch back up with him.
Hopefully Brother Edward Wallace will work with him.
I talked to him personally, and he promised me personally that he would. And we told him just start doing some of it at a time. You know, do it all at once, but start doing it. We try to pick it up. We're trying to help people, especially those that are in need of getting some help. Cloquet Street.
Hopefully there'll be some movement.
Rob, I'm just taking this and running with
Yes,
it.
sir,
I've been-
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Cloquet Street, y'all's most favorite. We had people living in the house. Well, we finally found the people living in it. They actually came into the police department and visited with me and Officer Miller. He's been helping us a little bit, just find people and, get them. We didn't arrest nobody, didn't give anybody tickets, just brought him in, explained to him the situation, and I'm gonna be honest with you, he still seems to be confused. They think as long as they just pay for something, they can still have the truck. But the bottom line is this, he promised us he was getting out. He was moving.
Did he give a date?
No, he said just fast as he could, and I think we found him an apartment, did we not?
We found him 2 places.
2 places to live. One of them being public housing.
But the mayor made it perfectly clear that it wouldn't be any length of time.
I told him he needed to get out. Now, the issue with the house being there, the mobile home, is really not this guy's, technically his legal problem, except for the fact he keeps living there, and we talked about all kinds of things, and, he has a rather boisterous attitude, but I think he's a decent, he didn't argue with us about it or anything like that. I just told him he needed to get out. He's illegally living there, he needs to get out. And we tried to help him find a place, a legal place to live. Now, as far as back with our man that owns the property, my intention now is just as quick as that guy can, and I don't even think we gotta wait for him to move. We're gonna go ahead and start this process. I'm gonna get with Mr. Clayton, and we are going to file charges, for lack of a better way to put it, against the owner and carry him to court. Rob has been in touch with the Arkansas Municipal League, and we're gonna be, matter of fact, we're gonna be bringing some issues, proposed ordinance changes back to y'all in the future. They have told us that when we're talking about removing a structure, not just cleaning up the property, but if we're ever talking about removing a structure, that we better go to court first and get a judge's order, because we could be in some liability issues. Even if we're following the law, everything perfectly. So we're gonna need to be talking about that and getting that put together. And in this case, with this mobile home, we are asking them to move it. We don't wanna go in there and just bulldoze it. We want him to get rid of it. So, council member, did you have a?
Yes, sir, I just like to make sure that nobody, I don't wanna say falls victim
but gets told they can live there,
Oh, well, I know it.
you know what I mean? And then,
And see, this guy got told that,
right,
the one that's been living there. He
And-
really did.
yeah.
I'm convinced of it, that he was, you know,
So I don't wanna see that,
he was used.
like, so, and I know they have to come in for water, you know, and all that, but some people will live without water.
Oh, they're doing it all over town.
Yeah, if they can be, you know,
Yeah.
if he says, okay, you can rent it, give me $600,
No, we have clearly told the owner
okay,
that he cannot do that.
okay,
But still, we're having trouble getting him to agree to move the structure. And we've given him every kind of opportunity in the world. I think the city attorney would like to make a comment, if it's
We
all right.
discussed that there may be an issue about whether you can do that or not.
What's that now?
There may be an issue about whether or not that is a permanent residence or not.
We have, I think we've got that pretty well cleared from the state, that a mobile home is a mobile home, no matter what you do to it.
Yes, I did.
Well, that's gonna make some new law, and
Really? Well, that's sure what we're being told.
The insurance companies have told me that once it's given a model number,
It's considered a mobile home, no matter what.
What you do to it. That comes from two insurance companies that I've contacted.
But we'll certainly,
I know we need to research it and find out about it, because
okay,
that's some new law. That's the case.
okay.
but in the meantime, we can still take,
We're gonna proceed.
But didn't you say we would need to go to court first to?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So that will take care of.
That's
that.
gonna take a little bit more time, and I'm sorry, but I just feel like we need to do that before, I mean, if we order somebody to go in there and drag it off or bulldoze it away, I think we're looking for some serious problems. But we're not gonna let anybody move back in there. If we can keep them from it, without, you know, filing charges immediately against them.
How many years have you been here?
at least 5.
This is kinda like our homeless situation.
And he was
The,
quick to
the
point
law's
out to us.
not on our side, yeah. Okay, but I didn't want y'all to be updated. Item D, if you got any questions, we'll try to answer. Item D, that property got bush hogged. And whether or not it's satisfactory to everybody, I've heard from no one, but except for the fact that I know it got bush hogged. I went out there myself and looked at it, I know it did. Now, how long it'll take for it to grow back up and eat it again, and probably be back where we are, but it did get bush hogged. So, and then the southern court, Rob talked about, and the 1110 Pinister Street,
Yes, sir.
is that,
It's not ready yet.
It's not ready.
To be on there.
do y'all wanna act on number 7 Southern Court, or you wanna wait till the other one's ready as well? That's up to you.
Well, since the lady has moved a dumpster, I'm sure she's dealing with her dad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's just, wait on.
And we can make an effort to get back in touch with her and see what her plans are. I don't think we've talked to her any further after
Not
Rob.
because she asked me if we give her an extension, and we granted it in the event, and then she did bring in a dump.
It appeared they were gonna do something. And this is, again, not a matter of having to tear a house down, this is just cleaning up the site, that's all we're talking about. Anybody got any questions or wish to make any motions on anything here?
1110 should be next month.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that's the one, you know where that one is.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's where Charlene and Mary.
Yes, ma'am.
is always.
We had a letter sent, but just to make sure, I'm giving it another one, because he had also applied to have it rezoned. I didn't want there to be any conflict or misunderstanding, so we go another 30 days just to.
And you will see in the, planning commission minutes that they rejected that.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you leave, one of the,
Go ahead.
on the list of vehicles, and you send those out to those individuals, one of the gentlemen that's on Myrtle Street that got a letter, that I think our last one.
Mr. Owens?
Passed away.
Yes, ma'am, I was there, I visited with his sons, both of them actually, and we had a good talk. It was crazy, it was real crazy. He had passed away today, we were there. And that, yeah, well, it was, me and Officer Miller were there, we stepped up on the porch and they came out, and told us, and we just dropped it and left. I told them we'd be in touch with them later, we were sorry. But they're gonna be taken care of.
All right, Councilman, yes, sir, Mr. Oldbury.
Just for clarification, I had a person, they're in the process of, selling their mobile home.
Okay,
Do they have to go back
yes, sir.
and get everybody else to sign around there?
The person, what they need to do, is they can put it up for sale, okay? And this is on the packet, and it has been on the packet, and we've added another clause to the packet since all these problems.
When he says packet, he's talking about information we give to people when it's first approved, okay?
If they have someone that, if, say you were gonna buy their mobile home, you would have to go through the petition deal and get it signed, because neighborhoods change, and some people may not still want a mobile home now. So yes, sir, to answer your question. And then we notified all realty companies, we've tried to, and we've run an ad, and, we've got a new thing added to the mobile home packet that you must go through this process if you sell this, and you have to sign it. That way everybody knows, because everybody, some of the people that I knocked on the doors go, well, we didn't know we had to do that, but.
Well, say for instance, you got an absentee landowner and they hadn't been able to catch up, they don't have to have 100% signatures in that neighborhood, do they?
Supposed to have.
Okay, well, if they couldn't contact the missing landowner, what options would they have?
That would be up to the plan commission
Okay.
to accept.
But they would have to live in the mobile home themselves.
Yeah, they have no rental.
No, it cannot
No,
rent.
purchase.
Okay, other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we covered everything there, unless y'all got any other questions or comments.
All I, just real quick, the building permits, electrical and plumbing have all doubled, on this year compared to this time last year on the numbers that were sold. People are doing a little better job about letting us know.
And we're trying to keep up.
Yeah, we're trying to keep up too, so anyway.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Yes, sir, thank y'all.
All right, street foreman. You still out there?
Hungry, but yeah.
I'm gonna start crying.
Go ahead.
Good evening. We just pretty much been doing everyday business, you know, bush hogging, patching the streets, and just trying to keep control on the vegetation, and work around our little forms that people want us to do. Getting ready to install several culverts, trying to finish up a bigger branch job down here on the town branch, trying to get it wrapped up, or we'll be through with that.
You got any questions of the street foreman? We're not running out of anything to do out there, I promise you. But we are working every day. And again, if, you know, people have a ditch that needs attention, or a street sign, or a pothole, or something that we don't get, it just, y'all let us know, or they call the office, we write up a form, that, you know, this needs to be checked out. Money goes out, it's legitimate, we try to solve the problem. If it's something that we can't solve, we try to make sure we let the property owner know why. And, I mean, we work at religiously, trying to, so. Questions? Money's just staying loose there. Let's go to the street committee, Councilmember Mosley.
Okay, you should have a list in your packets of streets. We've got the amount of money on there, the streets. We've had Monty has gone out and measured the streets that are on this list, which is Hazel Street, Chip and Seal, that street. South Myrtle from Park Lane to Brown, and Marie Drive.
Bowie Street, not Brown Street, Bowie.
You told me,
I'm not Bowie, Brown, but I meant Bowie.
you had the right letter.
Yeah, they had to turn and go west to get to Brown.
I went down there and couldn't find it, so that's okay. All right,
Street, they have fixed the swimming pool, finally, there's no water running down the middle of the street, and that's a cut-through street that needs to be fixed. And on Pennington Street, Lonnie, you may have to help me with this, from where we did the culvert going into
Washita Hardwood.
Washita, up the hill, there's a bad place on that, going up that hill, to the first telephone pole. Do that part. Ward 3, now this is, I'm gonna play it like this, between South Myrtle and Martin. And that's gonna be from South Myrtle to
North Myrtle, Packard Street from North Myrtle to the new asphalt at the bus station.
Okay, north. I'm gonna write that one on Charlotte. Okay. But goes from Martin Street to Myrtle Street, except where we've already paved around the bus stop. So you would come up to it on each side. That needs to be asphalt because the buses, there's so many buses there on
But
the.
it's so bad, so it needed that.
Yeah. And I think we need to put this out for bid to see how close, money-wise, we've gotten estimates, but the price of oil.
So are you moving that
I
we
know.
adopt these streets and bid them out?
Yes, sir. That's what I would like to do. Like
Okay,
a
we'll make
motion.
sure everybody understand. That's a
You're
motion,
ready.
motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Atkins. Okay, question or discussion of the motion, so we can try to get on this and get it bid out, see where we are financially for sure, and then get as much of it, if we have to, we'll come back to you with anything, but
May have to cut.
at least get the bids.
Or get it going.
Any debate, any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. I see 6 votes in favor, okay?
You're here.
All right, thank you, appreciate that, we will get on that and try to get that done just quick as we can to get the bids. Is that all you have?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hunter Bird. All right, community economic development, Councilmember Marshall, I've got a few things I could update you on, but I'll let you go ahead first.
Okay, well, sorry for being late with work calls. I missed, obviously, our second employee, recognition, which is gonna be our valuable fireman, which is Officer Adams. So recognize him for being selected as the second employee recognition for the city of Warren. Turn over to the mayor as far as these different updates. We haven't had a meeting this past month. But as far as updates on industrial recruitment,
Yes, ma'am.
privacy fencing, all that, I turned over to our mayor.
I'll be real quick, but I appreciate, and if you got any questions, I'll try to answer them. Of course, before you were able to get here, we did approve the contract with the Maximum Environmental, so that got done. I have been in contact with the other company that's still working on the old poultry plant site out there. That is very much moving ahead. Again, I still don't have a timetable to give you, but it is still very much moving ahead. The company that some time back approached us about building a plant out here on the Greg's property on the east side of town, pretty good sized project with a number of jobs. It had kind of gone quiet, and but we heard back from the company in the last couple of weeks and said, "Don't get nervous, we're still coming." And they apparently built 2 or 3 of these plants, and there was several things in the works. So hopefully that, now it's not done, but hopefully that's still on the go. So that's kind of where we are with that's 3 major prospects that we've been working with. The privacy fencing, I don't think there's anything new there, city property on Main Street, that's the old Bryant site, today, the Lockerbie Architectural, they came down, actually came today. Met with me, it was very short notice, but I've been trying to get them to, come on down here. Well, he came, one of the principals, it wasn't Glenn, but one of the guys that works for him. we went, just he and I went down there and we walked that whole site, talked about all kinds of things as to what, you know, they thought would make more sense, what could be done. And again, this is all, at no charge to the city. He's gonna go back and they are gonna put a rough sketch design together of what they think would be a wise use of the building, the lot. And, you know, that's gonna include several things, maybe a small stage area that could be used for parking at various times, things that could be done for, everything from farmers markets to food trucks to, all kind of public type activities. And, you know, how you would enter and exit and, you know, that kind of stuff. It won't be in absolute every little detail, but give y'all something to look at. And then, you know, make your comments or suggestions, and it can always be altered. And again, they're gonna do, he told me he hoped to have us something in 2 weeks. So at least to look at, just a rough sketch. So that's where we are. The LSI grant and the cultural center update kind of go hand in hand. I talked to Patricia Hargrove today from the development district and told her that we just simply had to get moving on this to find out what our options are. We had emailed her not only a estimate that was put together by a local contractor, now this will still have to be bid out, but at least gave us some ideas. We sent her that, we sent her the information LSI gave us free of charge. She said some way or another, she didn't get that part or had lost it. We resent it all today. Resent the whole package to her again. And I told her I would be back in touch with her tomorrow, make sure she got it, and then I didn't tell her who ordered me, but I did tell her I was on my way to come see her. And sit down and try to figure out what we got a legitimate chance to get. Okay? That I got to move and either say this will work or it won't work. And then try to see what else we can do. The depot, kitchen, of course, that's a little bit more now involved than just the kitchen. Talked to Mr. Gary Clements today, who's always been our architect on that. He's gonna put some specs together so we can bid it out. And he had told me a price, and I got him to cut that price back. We're gonna have to have a contract with him, which will include not only the specifications for 2 or 3 different things, but also making sure that he inspects the work and, you know, make sure it gets done right. And I told him I wanted that forthwith fast. That we're gonna move on that. The old street shop, got a call back today, but we missed each other from the folks that are gonna do the environmental study. So hopefully we're close on that. And then, of course, we've assigned to the committee the issue of looking at the downtown area for what kind of trees or shrubbery that we're gonna replace, the townscape area with. And, that's just something y'all, we're gonna need to meet with your committee on, you know, when y'all can. That's it in a nutshell. We do have some movement on some of this stuff, trying to get you some specifics and prices. And a lot of this, of course, you put some money from the rescue funds in there, and I made sure everybody involved knows we got to get it done and get it spent.
By December 31st.
And if they're not gonna do it, I'm gonna find somebody else that will. Okay? Quickly. So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you for those
Thank you.
updates.
Anything else?
That's it.
Councilmember Henderson, Ways and Means.
The shortest report in history. The Ways and Means Committee will meet on July the 16th at 4:30 here in the courtroom to review the personnel updates that's recommended by the administration. You do have in your packet the American Rescue dollar balance. It was on your cash balance, $500,391 the amount, spent and the remaining, balance, as it relates to the grant. Again, we must have all dollars spent by December the 31st of this year, otherwise we will lose the money, and we have too many projects to lose anything. So I know that the administration is, working hard as well as, the committees to ensure that everything is, taken care of as obligated with the American Rescue. And lastly, it's not listed on your agenda, we did mention the, Pennington property, and our administration is working very, very hard to come up with, a funding source, for that. And that, ends my report with no action items.
Thank you, ma'am. No pressure felt either on any of those last comments, but anyway, thank you. All right, council members, let me,
We know you can do it.
well, your confidence is appreciated and also scares me to death, so I don't know. But yes, we're definitely working on it. Item 8, reports and business, boards and commissions, Parks and Rec, Mr. Wagner is here. You have a written report, but you got anything else you need to tell them, or see if they got any questions for
I'm
you?
just gonna, thought that's really.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Everybody's seen the bridge is finished downtown.
Looks good, looks good.
We started repainting on the bathroom down at the city park, trying to get all that covered up this morning. Just trying to, fall season's official over, so we're just trying, we've been cleaning up a little more trash here lately down at the park. And we have started taking all the equipment down at the YMCA and started moving out to the complex that they had donated us. So, so there's nothing more.
Councilmember?
Yeah, mentioning the restrooms at the city park, what time are we opening and what time are we closing the restrooms?
Closing around 8-ish in the evening, and then around 7 to 7:30, we open them in the morning.
We're trying, of course, to protect them,
Yeah, we
but
need
also
to.
have them available for people that need them. We're having to make.
We're just having a big problem, you know, the people, during the winter was bad, they would stop the hand warmers, they got to where they would take them, and they'd let them run all night, you know, to get out of the cold, and they figured, and we just had so much problem, just a tough problem.
Yeah, but I think we should, continue to lock them,
We're locked, yeah, around 8 o'clock at night, we lock them, and then around 7 to 7:30 in the morning, we try to have them unlocked.
Okay, questions? Anything else, Kyle?
No, sir.
Now Kyle's keeping up with the shooting range, the tennis courts, the senior citizen center, the baseball complex, the park, the depot, all of that's in his bailiwick. And I will tell y'all again, we continue, and the armory, I forgot that, and the west side pool, yes. And, I mean, we got a lot of stuff, and,